Бажаю здоров'я, пане Олексію.
Welcome, Oleksii. Good morning. Can you hear and see us well enough? Yes, I can see you, but I cannot. Sorry, I can hear you, but I cannot see you.
Так, я так розумію, що з затримкою йде сигнал.
There
А
is
тепер бачите нас?
some delay. And now, can you see us now? No, unfortunately, I cannot see you.
Тоді зараз ми вирішимо ці
So let's try
технічні
to
проблеми.
fix those technical issues, and then we will start the interview. Dear colleagues, the candidate cannot see us.
Спробуємо ще раз.
Let's try once again. And what about now, Oleksii? What about the connection? Can you hear and see us? Well, the connection is good, but I'm sorry, I still don't see any picture.
У мене значок.
Окей, тоді трошки почекаємо.
Okay, so let's wait.
Так, а як зараз?
And what about now?
Зараз я бачу картинку.
Now I can see a picture in a picture.
Я вас бачу.
And I can see you finally. Okay, so let's start.
Вітаємо вас, пане Олексію.
So welcome, Oleksii, at the second stage of the selection to the High Qualification Commission of Judges of Ukraine at the interview, which is held by all members of the commission, and these are Stephen Markman, me, Ivan Mishenko, Ted Zazachny, Serhiy Verlanov, Yevhen Mezintsev, and Robert Brookhuizen. The rapporteurs at your interview are me and my colleague Ted Zazachny.
Ми вже з вами трошки потренувалися.
We have already had some training with you, but if for some reasons the connection disappears and is interrupted, and in case we're not going to fix it,
Продовжимо цей
we will continue this interview at some other time and on some other day that we will agree with you, starting with the point where we stopped. As far as questions are concerned, please give concise and clear answers, and the member of the commission asking the question can actually limit the answer, the time for the answer. And at the beginning of the interview, we'll give you about 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, for you to tell about yourself, about your motivation for applying for the HQCJ, and why should the commission recommend you. Oleksii, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Доброго дня, шановні члени комісії.
Good morning, dear commissioners. Good morning to the audience. I'm Domashenko Oleksii Mikhailovich, PhD, and I'm a fellow of the National Legal Academy named after Yaroslav Mudry. I worked for many years at the Department of Criminalistics at the university, and I also worked with the issues of legal psychology. But on the 7th of February 2022, I went as a volunteer to the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and I'm now within the 45th Artillery Brigade. I'm dreaming of the independent judiciary of Ukraine. That's what I could start with. But I'm actually a realistic person, a very practical, practice-oriented person who knows that there is nothing ideal, in particular, if we speak about such a complex mechanism as the judiciary. But I think that daily, routine, persistent work could lead to positive results. And while staying in the front line since the first days of the war, I have really felt how important it is for people to trust in the society, in the state authorities, in particular in the judiciary. And I've seen how many issues the servicemen are facing. And I was impressed by the negative attitude of servicemen to the judiciary. In particular, their negative attitude to the institutions that should be designed to provide fair services. Thousands of my comrades in the front line and in the rear are defending the territorial integrity of Ukraine. And our actions are fair, but to really restore fairness and to have this revenge on the aggressor, we need the fair system that would lead to restoration of justice. And the fact that we are just defending within the armed forces will not help to restore justice in a wider context. We need to pay attention to the problems and issues and needs that require protection. It's not enough to learn about those problems. It's necessary to feel those problems. And we, as ordinary citizens, should expect fair treatment of and fair resolution of the disputes, in particular in cases when a judge who is supposed to pass the decision can really explain why the decision should be like that. Can the people who have lost their houses be waiting for some justice coming from a person who has some property, let's say, in the territory of the aggressor state? Can a person who actually gives freedom to the gunner or to a spy be considered to be a fair person who will further be involved in the system of the judiciary? And can a person give a decision in the name of Ukraine if he collaborates with the side of the aggressor? So there is no place for such people in the judiciary of Ukraine. And trust in the judiciary now is unfortunately very low. And this is one of the indicators of the state development. In the civilized world, courts are to be trusted. So it would be good if the process of judicial selection was more transparent. The work of judges should be shown from the inside, and the society should be openly told about the problems of the judiciary. I would like to remove the labels of full immunity of the judges, and I would transform the system into a transparent system. While going to the armed forces of Ukraine, I understood it clearly that I want to free my native land from the invaders. Submitting the application for the competition, for the selection, I clearly realized that the judiciary should be purified from any manifestations of unfairness, vouching for each other, and mutual reliance. The need for the reform of the judiciary is not just the necessary precondition on the way to European integration, but this is one of the preconditions of survival of the country in the conditions of the war. Fair trial, fair court is the precondition for the preservation of the state. Today, as never before, the society has a very high demand for justice, fairness, and with every illegal and unjust decision, this need goes up. And formal performance of the functions of the commitments undertaken to the European community and global community actually undermines the status of the country and leads to a lack of trust and lack of confidence about our victory. This reduces the chances of changing the situation in Ukraine. I hope that the HQCJ members will find enough energy and enthusiasm to fill the judiciary with judges of integrity with high professional competence. Otherwise, in the nearest future, we may face the situations when the issue of restoration of justice will be settled not in a democratic way. As you know, this may be done through weapons, because when the weapons are used, the laws keep silent. Thank you, Oleksii.
Ну, що конкретно треба зробити?
Well, so what exactly needs to be done to achieve the things you have mentioned?
По-перше, необхідно
Well, first of all, it's necessary to reform
спосіб добору
the various selection procedure. In what way? Well, we need to start
подати акт
with asking
в цьому випадку.
who are the judges in this case. I mean, who selects, who is selecting those judges. So first of all, it's necessary to follow some requirements to the members of the HQCJ and High Council of Justice. These should be the requirements of their professional competence and integrity. And if there are no problems about integrity,
Запит суспільства, що
we should check also that these people have high level of professional competence.
Ну,
це по-перше. По-друге, так,
Well, this is the first thing, and well, there are other things as well.
я не скажу, що реформувати, необхідно
We need to, well, probably not to reform, but to change, as I think, some selection procedures and change
прозорості, відкритості,
the procedures towards transparency, openness, involvement of the civil society. I think that
довіри.
then the level of trust will go up.
а от ваша думка,
Okay, it's clear. And please tell us about the following. During the selection of new judges, should the HQCJ be applying any quotas? Let's say we have a popular idea, which has partially been implemented, that assistant judges
вони більш готові для того,
are better ready to become judges, and they will need more time for training.
в них може бути спрощено.
They will need less time for training, and generally the procedure for them could be facilitated. So do you agree to this approach? And for example, should there be any quota for servicemen who want to become judges, or maybe there could be some other quotas? Please give your answer.
Як на мене,
Well, I think that we don't need quotas, but
я так розумію, що
as far as I understand, the proposal on assistant judges comes from the people
посаду
who have long been dreaming about judicial positions.
достатньо успішний досвід,
And there is quite a successful experience of involving not just the court staff in the competition, but also lawyers and researchers and scientists. I mean, in the selection for the Supreme Court, for example. And it seems to me that such practices
мають позитивний ефект.
have a positive effect.
Квотності
As far as quotas are concerned, I think that quotas are a thing we don't need.
таки необхідно
Just vice versa.
більше
We need to open the judiciary as much as possible to involve new professional staff. If we don't need quotas for certain categories,
Виправданим
would it not be justified to at least simplify the procedure of selection for, let's say, for assistant judges? No simplification. Okay, do you know how many judges, what is the figure of the number of judges the judiciary elects? It's about 3,000, if I'm not mistaken. And have you ever thought about this figure? Why 3,000? Where from has this figure come?
наскільки я знаю,
As far as I know,
певна кількість суддів
Some judges have not yet completed their judicial assessment, qualification assessment, but this figure is small. There were some judges who didn't want to undergo qualification assessment, and then they were dismissed. Also, we have got this figure because we have some territories that are under occupation, and that's why it's not possible to do justice in those territories and to perform the judicial function. Let me explain what the context of my question is. This number was based on the state judicial administration's calculations, and it was made before the war. But according to official data, Ukraine, 8 million citizens have left Ukraine. Some of the territories of Ukraine are under occupation. Some courts have been physically destroyed. Maybe we should start with finding out how many judges we need, how many new judges we need, because I don't quite understand these 2.5 thousand, 2,500, right? They were calculated according to the parameters that we had last year, at least. Well, yes, of course, we need to analyze the available number of vacancies and to understand how many judges we need. It's need to clarify the real need. And only after that, we should start appointing judges within the selection procedures. It should be a needs-based process. Clear. And please, Oleksii, in your personal experience, just you have mentioned this briefly in your introductory speech, but what about your personal experience? How can it be useful in case you are appointed a member of the HQCJ? Should it be appointed? What is so special about your experience that could actually contribute to the work of the HQCJ member that corresponds to the core of this work? You mean personal life experience and professional experience? Well, first of all, I used to spend a lot of work and a lot of time in assessment of students. I realized that this is a different sort of assessment than assessment of judges, but the principles of assessment are something I'm well aware of. Also, my professional activity is related not just to teaching, because I used to participate in the election process, not as the candidate, but just at the head of the circuit election commission, and I generally performed a lot of functions within this election race. I was a member of the commission and was the secretary of the commission at the local election. So this means that I know what the procedure is, I know how to work in a team, I know how to make teams work effectively. Please continue. I also participated in some assessment and evaluation projects where I was involved in the anti-corruption team. And, even the experience I'm receiving now within the armed forces of Ukraine is also the experience that will help me work as the HQCJ member, I think. Clear. And in your motivation letter, you have also mentioned that to get all the results, you have mentioned 3 things are necessary: team, values, and political will. And now, in the answer to the question, you have also mentioned the word team. And what do you think the team of the HQCJ should be like? Who should be members of the HQCJ? We all know the requirements of the law, that these should have judges and have representatives of other legal profession, judges or retired judges. But what kind of people should those be? Who should be included into this team for this to really be an effective team, from your point of view, of course? Well, I think that, first of all, this should be experienced and professional people and people of integrity. This is the most important thing, and these should be the people motivated and willing to change something in the country. Not something, but the approach to the judiciary.
Мабуть, якщо у нас буде одна така
And if we share this goal, we will have good deliverables.
Ми часто, багато
Quite often,
аналізуємо
we
поняття
tend to
доброчесності.
analyze the issue of integrity. And even one of the criteria for this selection process is also integrity of the future members of the HQCJ.
Цей же принцип
And
буде використовуватись новою
again, this is the principle that is going to be used by the new HQCJ for selection of new judges, for the qualification assessment, and so on and so forth. So what do you think?
Яким чином встановлюється
How
наявність чи
well,
відсутність критеріїв доброчесності?
how will integrity be identified?
Правильно,
How do we do it in the right way? How do we check
безпомилково.
for us not to make a mistake? Should we measure integrity using some technologies? Or should there be some analysis of documents that will help you identify integrity or lack of integrity? What should we do to make sure that really this person is a man of integrity and this one is not?
дійсно доброчесність це така
Well, integrity is really a category
конституція внутрішня людини, яка спирається на моральні
that
справи.
is rather the internal constitution of the person based on some rules. Rules according to which a person is building his or her conduct in performance of job duties, in communication with people, and even while staying with himself or herself. Integrity is not a thing to be measured in kilograms, centimeters, or points. No. If we speak about professionalism, well, here you could have some testing, do some assignments and prove that you're competent, professionally competent. But as far as integrity is concerned, you cannot do it like this. To identify whether a person or a conduct of a person is of integrity or not, we need to analyze previous actions of the person, previous decisions of the person, and we should take a decision on the basis of the fact whether this conduct corresponds to a certain benchmark. But this should be one common benchmark for everyone, and
Можливо, навіть і на законодавчому рівні закріпити.
by the way, I think that this benchmark should probably somehow be established even in the legislation. There should be some description, definition of the notion of integrity for all the bodies who have something to do with judicial selection to perceive integrity as one and the same thing while they are trying to compare people with each other and against these benchmarks. There are some markers of integrity or indicators of integrity, which are independence, impartiality, honesty,
Дотримання етичних норм.
deep understanding and compliance with ethical norms and other things like that. So following all those criteria, we could actually analyze the conduct of judges and to tell whether it corresponds to integrity criteria or not. And
Може стосуватися
integrity could be related not just to the professional conduct of a person, but
відношення
to the attitude of the person to the society in daily life.
систематичних прав.
If a person systemically violates traffic rules, for example, that could also point to lack of integrity of this person. Responsibility for family members could also be an issue of integrity. I mean, the one pointing whether a person is a person of integrity or not. In particular, if we speak about some property issues or property characteristics of these people. And integrity is the category
Розглядаючи якої можна
considering which we could look back in retrospect.
передбачити, якою
Well, I mean, we of course can predict what a person would behave like, but we don't have any limitations in time to recognize a person as a man who lacks integrity or a woman who lacks integrity. In Ukrainian law, do you have any people of authority whom you respect? any lawyers in the Ukrainian judiciary whom you consider to be really people of integrity and who are professionally competent now, or, well, not 100 years ago, but several years ago at least.
Я розумію, що
Well,
існують
I understand that there are a lot of examples of, let's say, scientific papers that are written by smart people, but I'm not acquainted with these people themselves, with the authors. For me, my scientific scholarly supervisors and my teachers, lecturers, are my
прикладом доброчесності.
examples of integrity for me, because I know them personally, I know what their conduct is like. Clear. I think that my colleagues also have some questions to you, so please let me give the floor to them. Ted, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Very good to meet you, Mr. Domashenko. I want to congratulate you for applying and providing the offer of your career and your personal values to the work of the High Qualification Commission of Judges. You will not be surprised to hear that in addition to the very valuable materials that you provided as part of your application, your autobiography and your motivation letter, we have also received a great deal of information from our outside supporters, NABU, NACP, civil society organizations, etc. And that's not just in the case, in your case, but it is the case with respect to all candidates. But I would like to know a little bit more about your personal career in the law. I know that you are highly educated, sir, that you are an academic, and that you have been teaching for approximately 17 years at the Yaroslav Mudry National Law University. And I take it that is in your capacity as an assistant professor, is it?
Probably problem with connection.
Here we go.
Шановні колеги, повідомляю
Dear colleagues, let us inform you that due to technical reasons, the interview with candidate Oleksii Domashenko was interrupted because of lack of internet connection. We came into contact with the candidate, and now we are setting the day for rescheduling the interview to start this interview with a place where it was interrupted. So please wait for our announcement on our official website and on the website of the High Council of Justice. And the interview with candidate Oleksii Domashenko will continue on some other day at some other time, and there will be additional information on that. Thank you.